Anthony,
Present.
Ms. Geininger is running late, and Mr. Newton. Here. 3.0 approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on the agenda? All right. Discussion, all those in favor? Aye. And none opposed. 4.0, review and approval of meeting minutes from the May 7th, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And no opposed. Next, we have approval of claims. On the public safety side, there's cash requirements of $134,244.73. Manuals of $9,184.80 for a total of $143,429.53. On the public property side, we have cash requirements of $48,186.55. No manuals, total of $48,186.55. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the claims? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Unopposed. 6.0, public comment. We have a public comment. Go ahead and just state your name.
Karen Monterola. I just wanted to put a face to an email I had sent to Mr. Popine and Mr. Townsend in regards to a medical incident that happened to the Y on May 29th. I'm not going to read you the email, so I'm assuming and hoping that they have shared that email with you. I have a few concerns from that day. Beginning with the time it took the ambulance to get to the Y. It was 20 to 30 minutes before we saw any EMT or ambulance. The access to the lower level is not good for ambulances, gurneys, medical equipment to be carried down. It's just not, if with a medical emergency down there, it's a very cumbersome way to get down there. If they're paid, and I'm not sure how you would ever get a patient up out of there on a gurney that's heavy. I know I've worked in the medical field for 4 decades plus. So I know that's just a lot of concerns I've noticed. And also one of the other concerns was the unpreparedness of the EMTs when they did arrive to the scene of this incident. It was not a life-threatening incident, event. There were people there that had things to help her, and I mean, it all worked out well. I know that there's a lot of people out on that campus, from children to older adults that work out, and my concern is just the access to help people and not have a life-threatening event out there, which would be horrible. I mean, there were 2 of us there that could help this patient, and we did. That's not always going to be the case either. So, if I can be of any other assistance or answer any questions, please contact me, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question? So who served that? Freeport Rural or the city of Freeport?
Rural.
Okay.
I believe from what I was told, I did talk to Aaron Green out at the Y. They called rural. They weren't able to come, so they called Star. That was my understanding. And I do believe somebody said they did see the Star ambulance. I did not see them as a Star ambulance, but it's not. And I know the Y is just on the other side of the city limits. That's like the breaking point of rural.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any more public comment? All right. Moving on to 7.0, reports of the committee. Sheriff Stowell.
Good evening. This will be short. Process, we have one graduated from corrections PTI last Thursday. She has started her training program. and we have 2 that are in the LE PTI, and they're in their 5th week. We have 49 inmates today. Social Services Administrator, May stats, we had 8 jail referrals and 28 officer community referrals. We participated in Cop on a Roof and the torch run. And then just this evening at about 4:30, Erica was able to call me, and she reported that she's been working with a client for almost 10 and a half months. I mean, this is how the system works. To get a person that has a situation without resources or help out there. Erica's been helping her for 10 and a half months, and today was able to get her placed in a home in Rockford that will be able to care for her needs. Erica has, over this last 10 months, been responsible for some of the appointments to make them, driving this person to those appointments and for interviews. And we're happy to announce that she was accepted into this home today. Crime Suppression Unit. Now, we have 2 full-time deputies that are now dedicated to this unit. It was, I don't want to say it was difficult to set this unit up, but it did take some time, especially being down bodies. We've been able to hire at lightning speed. We're doing something that no one else in the state apparently is, as I've been around and everyone's short and they can't get people hired. But for the Crime Suppression Unit, for actually it'd be like 28 or 29 days, because I reported last meeting that they were going to start 2 days after the meeting. They have made 142 contacts, 70 traffic stops, 1 pedestrian stop, 7 offense reports, a felony arrest, 2 felony warrants, 2 misdemeanor warrants, 8 misdemeanor arrests, 6 bench warrants, 22 traffic citations, 51 written warnings, 2 verbal warnings, 22 vehicles were searched, 49 people were searched, cannabis recovered was 59 grams, cocaine recovered was 0.1 gram, drug paraphernalia recovered was 4 instruments, and currency seized was $6,988. So that's 28 days. From here on out, I won't read you guys all of this. I will provide this report to you, so it will be emailed. I just wanted to break out the first one. Like I said, we've had 2 people that have been dedicated to this for 28 days, and they're doing a fantastic job. We also assisted Freeport in the county today as a group, or as a joint effort, to do a search warrant that netted some guns and some methamphetamine, and at least 1 warrant arrest and 1 arrest this morning of the same individual. So we're out there, we're doing exactly what we needed to do. And also with this stat sheet, you will have an individual breakdown of what they actually did. So I heard some rumblings from some people that were wondering what we were doing. Without 2 people dedicated, it was difficult to have people in that unit and a part-time basis. Basically, we now have the full-time unit. Any questions about the sheriff's report so far?
Question.
Yep.
What was the $6,800 from? Is that just a
Two
charge?
separate 2 separate warrants, and they were, 2 different stops. $2,403 was seized as evidence during an arrest of a suspect that had numerous warrants, and the other one was a stop that netted 53 grams of cannabis and $4,585 during a traffic stop.
Thanks. Go ahead.
Sheriff, I would just like to say nice job. I'm glad this is up and running, and we're off to a good start, and that's a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Yeah, if I can add, we're still 2 people short, because it's a group that we're going to have 4 in. I happen to be 3 people down still in the law enforcement part. We have 2 at the academy, but we're still 3 short, but we're working on that too.
Okay.
So yeah, at half man, we're doing pretty well.
Yep.
And then if I could bring up one new thing that I want to put on your radar, we don't have to do anything on it tonight. I had a few phone calls from some county board members some citizens and the village president of Cedarville about an incident that had happened at the Cedar Inn with loud music. Cedar Inn hosted a band, which the volume got a little out of control, and they played until about 10 after 12. So a lot of phone calls came in. What I want to bring to your attention is this isn't the first time this has happened. And it doesn't necessarily mean a band. It could be just someone using speakers or a loud party. We don't really have an ordinance for loud music or loud noise. I think we might want to start thinking about that. At least then we would have something to do when the officers get there, the deputies get there, that we can make them turn it down. Because right now, pretty much legally, we can't do that. Anything legally to make them turn the noise down. We don't have a time. We don't have a curfew for it. We don't have a decibel. None of that stuff. I do have a copy of what Rock Island is doing and a copy of what our ordinance says. I'll pass this out to whoever would like it. I'll give it to Georgia so she can get it out to whoever wants it, just to kind of be thinking about something to give us some teeth when someone does have that complaint. About 3 years ago, it was a complaint over the fence where one neighbor would run their lawnmower all night to torment the person on that side of the fence. So that person in retaliation would set up large speakers and play music in all hours of the night.
That
So
was in Cedarville?
we need no, this is something totally different 3 years ago. So we don't have anything, fortunately, like most other, like Freeport has or other counties. So it's something that we should probably at least look into. Just wanted to get that on your radar.
A quick question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
With an establishment like a bar, is it zoned a particular way? Can we enforce something that
We-
says loud music at an establishment like that?
We can, because the Cedar Inn is on this side of the city limits. So it's our responsibility. The establishment right next door to them is inside the city limits for Cedarville. I did all that research to find out what I could do. Now, that has been resolved. I actually went up and met with the owner. We came up with an agreement. Carrie is very good to work with. She's going to stop the music at 11 from now on, and she's going to make sure that the volume doesn't get to the point that it got to that evening. We said, we'll see how it happens.
But
So we've talked about a noise ordinance previously, but we didn't go anywhere with it because in the fall, farmers are picking corn and beans at all hours of the night. And their tractors would be they would exceed the decibel level. So I would really caution having that type of ordinance in place. Curfew or something like that, I think would be better served. Or proximity to a incorporated area, something like that.
Even an exemption. I mean, everyone would know if it's that type of vehicle, that's fine. I just think we need to at least scratch the surface for music or
Lawnmowers.
or some sort of a nuisance would be considered a lawnmower instead of a.
Well, or maybe could there be like some type of permit? When she has bands at the bar, that
Yes,
we could issue her a permit and say residents of Cedarville.
I'm taking care of that through the liquor commission part, so I'm actually working both sides of this.
Sorry, she's my best friend. I apologize.
No, she's good. She's very good to work with.
I thought it was me.
That's what I thought too.
What?
And the last update for all of you, and it's under old business, so I'm just gonna hit it anyway. So the LPRs, we're just waiting for the install. Everything is done. We have all the permits. Helm Group is the one that are actually doing the electric install. We're just waiting for them to get on their ladders. The elevator project, Kone, has been at the courthouse and are conducting audits and on the equipment and have been ordering parts. I just spoke to them again yesterday. Ordering the parts and the components. I do not have a time frame when they're going to start. They did tell me a little bit that the way that this one is, our two elevators are, of course, they're not the correct size. So they're actually going to have to make the holes bigger because whatever they got these probably was the cheapest or whatever. So I said, we still have to do what we have to do. And then the HVAC, the Home Group has been at the courthouse and the jail several times within the last 2 weeks, auditing and inspecting. They're taking it kind of section by section and ordering things as they go. as these normal components show up, they're going to start the work. So it'll be whatever they can get into, they will get into. But we are going to be waiting on the rooftop units because those are a little ways out.
Any questions for the sheriff? All right, thank you, sir. Let's go to 7.2, the Emergency Management Agency, Director Johnson.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Apologize, we just got out of the field. So I can smell myself, so I know. You know, we've had a busy month in the emergency management office. We've attended the midterm planning committee for Winnebago County's full-scale exercise. This is important for a couple of things. Number one, it gives us experience and assists with our partners to the east, but also it also gives Robin and myself credit for the drill experience and training with IEMA, which we can then turn into our certifications for. Robin is attending one class tomorrow to be his final class, and he will have his professional development series, which I'm very happy with. He did that in just a little over a year, and it's not that he's not capable of doing it. It's just it's scheduling and getting the classes lined up. They're not always as available as what they should be. But nonetheless, it's really nice to continue to work with Winnebago County and assist them with that full-scale exercise. Another thing I'd like to bring your attention to is we're still working on EOC, moving it from one section of our office to the other, one part of our building to the other. This is going to be a pretty labor-intensive thing, but we're going to do that after the fair. We've taken some preliminary steps right now. We're going through all of our radio equipment, all of our computer equipment. Anything that we feel is outdated or not being utilized, we're going to set aside and try to come up with a more modern, streamlined EOC. That's our goal, at least. In Springfield, in September, the 3rd through the 6th, myself and Assistant Director Robin Gorsline are going to be attending the IEMA Summit in Springfield. We're going to be taking 2 members from our local emergency planning committee. I'm not sure who yet, but we've had a number of people that have asked, and our office wants to take 2. 4 of us going down to attend that. I attended last year. I thought it was very worthwhile. Some very good training, some very good things to go on down there, and it lets us again network with our people downstate. God forbid if we should ever need them, they'll at least be able to put a face with a name. We've also been working with the Stephenson County Fair Board. They have come up with an updated emergency plan, which we've been involved with. It's been nice, kind of been a breath of fresh air. Normally we get this thing about 2 days before the fair starts. But Cindy and Gary Milkey have been very forthcoming, along with Katie Boyer, the wife of City Manager Freeport. They've been really good. And I want to say also the Sheriff's Office, his administrative staff have been very helpful with keeping us in the loop and trying to come up with what we consider to be a very good emergency plan for the fair coming up. That being said, our UTV is, we are hopefully going to get that started to get decaled sometime in the next 2 weeks. And we plan to have that, I mean, it's in service now, but we plan to have it decorated with lights and sirens by the fair, hopefully before. Another issue that came up was brought to myself and committee chair Coplain was the rural sign program. For those of you that are not familiar with that, this has been around for a very long time. It is a way for sheriff, state police, and emergency and fire to go to a residence that is identified by a numbering system and not by the address. This can be very helpful in rural communities where there's a lot of distance off of the road where the farmhouse may be or where the residence may be. I can say this, I was a fireman for City of Freeport. This is not new. I know that this county board looked at this probably more than a decade ago, and maybe since then one more time. It's a very expensive proposition. I'm not sure where we want to go with this. We're still kind of in initial stages of discussing it. I know that the fire protection districts, for the most part, have shied away from it because of the cost. We're looking at probably $25 per resident for the sign, but that's just the beginning. It has to be installed. You just can't go and pound a stake in the ground. You have to call Julie. It's kind of labor intensive. And the way it's done in most areas is the fire protection districts kind of spearhead that. You know, if the county wanted to assist financially with something like that, that would be up to the county, obviously. But it is a very labor intensive. And right now, I'm not convinced that it's as beneficial as it was 10 or 15 years ago, just because of, you know, reverse 911, all the GIS, all the mapping everybody has within their vehicles. I'm not sure that it's as beneficial today as it was in, let's say, the early 90s. Okay. But nonetheless, I don't want to turn my back on that, and I will bring it up to the Fire Chiefs Association next month at their head meeting and see if they have any desire to move forward with that. And the last thing I'd like to discuss was the email I received from Mrs. Modero. I think her complaint has great merit. I don't know if we can solve it tonight. I think the entities that need to be involved are obviously Freeport Rural Fire Protection District, the county, and the city of Freeport. There has to be some type of intergovernmental agreement for the city to respond first. From experience, I can say that Freeport Rural does request city fire immediately whenever they do not have staffing, which unfortunately is quite often. And that is a nationwide problem. That's not a problem key to Stephenson County. STAR is usually the backup to that, but it is still a serious problem. And I think the comments you made about, you know, Highland hosting basketball games and other types of festivals and events, and just the amount of people that are on that campus. As a 27-year firefighter, we thought every day that should be our territory because we can respond much quicker. There's a paramedic house less than a mile away. To answer your questions about the basement there, yes, that's an obstacle. But we solve obstacles with manpower. You don't have manpower, you're gonna have a struggle. A lot of times in places like that, we'll get bystanders that can actually help, but you know, city fire, we usually send an engine. I'm not sure what rural is doing anymore. The volunteer world, it's getting very, very difficult to get people to volunteer time. But I don't want you to think that we're turning our back on this. I'll bring it up at the chief's meeting again, and we'll discuss it openly again. I'll talk to Freeport Rural's chief, I'll talk to City Fire's chief. I'm not sure if it's my position to do that, but I will definitely see if I can bring those two together, and if there's, you know, a desire to hand over that campus to the city, well, that would be a decision made by the county board and city council.
I guess it's not clear to me what role the county would play in this. We have no oversight, either Highland or Freeport Rural, other than to maybe help facilitate.
This would be the fire protection district.
They're separate taxing bodies. So
Yep.
if their own boards.
So maybe we can get it done quicker. But again, I want to state that Freeport Rural does, their ambulance service does roll over their call immediately to city fire. And I'll say this, city fire runs 7,000 calls a year. So 2 ambulances, you know, there's no guarantee that when that call comes in, they will be able to respond immediately, but they will normally if there's no house fire. These get some manpower, and there are paramedic engines, there are people that can treat, but sometimes the response is just unavoidable. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Director? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So 7.3, County Coroner, Doug Welch.
Oh, thank you. Just a general, report for you here, this month. We had 43 deaths in May. 3 of those were accidental in cause. 1 was a suicide. These are preliminary information right now. But, in May, we did 7 autopsies. So that's a high number of autopsies. We did, last month, I also mentioned to you about vehicles, the truck, and, we're gonna do some research on that. I appreciate Georgia helping me out with that. And, actually, we have a contact now from a solutions team However, the email we got back earlier today was kind of confusing to me, to be very honest with you. Because according to our contract, there's a number, I believe the number we have is 7497 is at the end of the contract. That is the number roughly for discount from the book value. Our book value is like 11,000 according to the documentation I printed out. The individual we talked to or sent us an email back today, which came to Georgia, copied to me. He mentioned 7440 would be the option to purchase. However, that number could change, and contact them when we hit the month 60, which is December. So I would think that an organization like that would be able to, project out a little bit better and give us a little more information, because we don't budget in 1 month and we need to be prepared for that. So now the number is somewhat in the ballpark from the way I'm reading the contract, but I know Georgia has been a big help, and we've already talked that she's thinking of emailing another contact she had. So, but it didn't work.
Did you email them back though and ask for a specific, what exactly did they mean by that?
Well, we had initially reached out just looking for clarification of what our purchase price would
Okay.
be at the end of the contract. And then we did that last week and we just got this response today. So
It could also, they have to take into consideration if you pay your monthly payment every month. And if 1 month you just decide to pay a little extra or you don't pay quite up, that's what they mean. It may change, right? Because
Well, it's a lease.
it's a lease.
Yeah.
I think what they're looking at is what the actual.
The
cash
market
will
value
be at
is
that
gonna
time.
be-
That's a two-wheel drive truck, right?
No, it's
It is
a,
four-wheel
it
drive.
is,
It is
but it
Suits too.
has manual windows and locks.
yeah, it's a bare bones, like, they almost had to special order it to get it that point.
So it is 4-wheel drive, but that's about the only.
But fortunately, I did print out the paperwork that when we access it to download our invoices, that the value of the truck, there is a retail value of the truck listed on that, and I printed it out, which was 11,477.79 at this point. So my concern is, what are they gonna reevaluate that to at the end?
In December.
In
So
December.
this is June.
Yep.
So
So
in 6 months, it's gonna lose $4,000 worth of value.
Well, no, because they're gonna keep paying.
Yeah. payments
no,
between now.
they should be giving us a discount. on the
Right,
value
I agree,
of-
Todd, I agree.
Yeah, and I think that's how it's built in.
Usually they-
I'm not a lease knowledge
I
person
don't,
enough. to
leases,
give
I
you-
don't know.
Here,
It's pretty cut and
they
dry.
would.
Usually.
So I'm questioning, and maybe it's changed with everything that's going on in the country. I mean, potentially, but I mean, I guess I would look at the contract that was
Yeah.
signed, because to me, it should be cut and dry. This shouldn't even
Well,
be,
because if we have a chip problem again with trucks, and the trucks, the new trucks are coming off the lot, even something like what Todd has, will
Mhm.
become more valuable.
Well, in the contract reads what our discount will be off of the retail value at the time.
Right.
Which
okay,
we know what the discount is and what he had looked up as a retail value. It's close.
Okay.
The
It's
perspective,
just,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I'm just saying the perspective that I got from the email, just my impression was that we weren't talking with a person who actually had knowledge to go the next step.
I would agree.
And that's where we're
That's what
working
we're-
to go. So-
Okay.
So we'll keep working on this.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Any questions or anything?
All right. Thank you. All right, discuss the license plate readers, and we'll go to 9.0 on new business. 9.1 discussion on strategic planning focus areas, community safety, and parks and facilities.
Like me to do that.
Sure.
All right, well, like we discussed last night in planning and development. Pull up here, who the members of these committees are.
I have,
I've got it here. Really what I'm looking for is to have the volunteers for the subcommittees report back to this group. If there's already key strategies and performance measures in place that the group that did the strategic planning put in place. So this is the opportunity for the oversight committee to add or subtract off of what those key strategies are, or at least relay what you as an oversight committee would like to see come out of the subcommittee. So for community safety, I have Larry Jogers, Kurt Copeland, Nicole Baker. Those are the county board members. And unless you're faster than I am, Kurt, I've got June Dillman and Georgia Newcomer for community safety. And what we did last night, Georgia, correct me if I'm not remembering right, but we talked about putting a couple dates and times together for the subcommittees to meet and see if those individuals would be available. The other committee, parks and facilities, was Casey Anthony, Adam Modero, Jim Hart, and Beth Henning. So again, this is your opportunity, the oversight committee, to lay out expectations that we can relay to the subcommittee members. Give me one second. Ideally, my thought behind this was to eventually craft a budget based off of the strategic plan. I don't know if that's a realistic expectation for 2025, hopefully for 2026.
I was just going to mention that the last key strategy under community safety was implement house number system in rural areas to improve response times. So, we may have to, work with you as a subcommittee on your thoughts on that if you're already looking into it. So that was one thing that came up during the planning session because of issues that some of the members were aware of. So.
Would we, in the budget process, would we look in to work with the department heads or steer them in the direction that we want to?
Right. Well, at the end of the day, you know, it's up to the board on the budget and where funds are allocated. But it would be much, much better if we work together cohesively, department heads and county board alike. Which I think so far we have. It's been much better than previous years.
Any questions for the chairman?
Not, we'll get dates and times and George will email out the subcommittee members and hopefully we can get some times put together and start meeting.
All right, move on to 10.0 comments from committee members. Do you want to discuss anything or have any comments?
No.
All right. 11.0 public comment.
But just one thing, just wanted to remind everyone that July 22nd is the UCCI annual conference up in Galena. So if you would like to go, please get with Georgia, let her know so she can get the rooms booked.
Yeah. And if you fill out your registration that way, and when I send them to Connie, she knows how many people for each event.
What are the dates again, sweetheart?
21st, 22nd?
Yeah, if you go up,
22nd, 23rd.
you can go up Sunday night. The actual event starts Monday
Okay.
and Tuesday.
22nd, 23rd, yes.
All right. 12.0 adjournment.
I make a motion.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Hi.
Adjourned.